Hello, my name is Gui Costin, and today I'm doing a presentation on millennials and how millennials buy and consequently how we should sell to them. My audience today is our 6th senior project, guys from Haverford School and Episcopal Academy, not quite Episcopal Academy from a senior project standpoint, but a freshman. And we're walking through our millennial presentation, which precedes the book we're writing on millennials in conjunction with Forbes books. So my name's Gui Costin. I'm the founder of Dakota Network and Dakota Funds Group. We're currently writing a book, as we said, in conjunction with Forbes on millennials. And one of the key things and the reason we're doing this is there's a massive difference in how millennials buy and how baby boomers and Gen Xers buy. And the numbers are stark. The millennials, in our opinion, are clearly the most important generation at 80 million. Like, who are the millennials? Born between 81 and 1997. 80 million strong, so between 20 and 37 years old in 2018. These are the generations. So when you look at the generations, baby boomers and Gen Xers, right, before 1980 effectively, didn't grow up on the internet, have very different buying behaviors than millennials and Gen Zs. And who are the millennials? So they are 1/3 of the workforce, our largest population to date right now, twice the size of Gen Xers. I'm 51 years old, my generation, and projected to be just over 80 million in the next 15 years. They are our buying population. We have to pay attention to how they buy so we consequently can learn how to sell to them. They're absolutely the engine of business going forward. They're the majority of your workforce, and it's happening more and more and more every day as the millennials get older. And one thing is millennials really rely on social media to connect with brands. So it's really, really critical that you understand their thinking and how they connect with your products. And this is a stat that everybody knows and loves. All you need to do is stand in a Starbucks line and you see what millennials and really anybody's doing today, but millennials are checking over 85% of millennials check their iPhones 45 times a day. That number is probably light if you think about just yourself. The most important thing is they are absolutely your new buyer. They are your new buyer, and you have to pay attention to them because they are very much into video. They are very much into smartphones. Here's the deal, though. If I'm pitching you and you're Gen X or a baby boomer, they are not you, right? They did not grow up browsing the aisles of a Blockbuster. They didn't grow up calling a bookstore to find out if a book was in stock. They didn't grow up like we did with a long phone cord from our kitchen going up to our bedroom. They have their phones in their rooms. They typically aren't going to libraries because of Wikipedia and the internet and how quickly they can find information. In the old days, you actually had to go to a library to look at microfiche to find information. In general, unless you're taking a special course in photography, you didn't grow up buying one of these and putting them into a camera, or you didn't end up looking at an encyclopedia or buying encyclopedias. But what you did do is you use this and you grew up on the internet, which means you'd have access to information at any time. And as you can see, the numbers on internet, mobile, video are absolutely off the charts and dominating globally. The gateway to the internet is Google. It's where everybody thinks first. And I think even the Gen Z generation, which would be more you, is we're much more thinking YouTube even first, even before Google. But Google for the millennials is the first place they go to when they think about doing anything. And so if your product's not there and can't be found there, you're missing this generation. This is where they spend their time. This is where they connect with social. This is where they connect with brands. This is where they connect with their friends. This is where millennials, again, are purchasing product and reviewing product and are absolutely social enthusiasts relative to other generations. So 4 times as likely to use Instagram, twice as likely to use Twitter. And 62% of millennials are really influenced by brands that they find online. And here in the next 10 slides, we're going through what I believe are some unbelievably startling video statistics. And video by 2020 is going to be 80% of all internet traffic. So think about it. If you're not producing video and you have a product or a service and you can't be found using video, you're in trouble. So over 100 million users are watching video every day, more than 80% of internet traffic by 2019. They massively boost click-through rates. They embedded videos, so better conversion rates using video. And remember, these numbers are not like 20% or 30% or 40%. They're all north of 80%. The impact of video versus reading is dramatic, and I can't emphasize that enough. Talk to any 50-year-old, 60-year-old, 70-year-old, they're going to tell you, I'd rather read than watch a video. Talk to anybody under 40, they're going to tell you it's a lot easier to watch a video. I retain more, I understand more, it's more entertaining. So think about that gulf and that divide as we go through this. This is going nuts. So over 100% a year, video consumption is growing 100% a year. When you're buying a product online, 64% would more likely buy it after they've watched the video. 80% of online marketers using in their digital content strategies. A third of all time people spend online is watching videos. More than 35% of ad spending and growing. How about this? Almost 60% of company decision makers would rather watch a video than a blog post or an article, right? So again, back to my reading point. They remember more watching video. Over 80% remember more. I believe the statistic is after 30 days, reading versus watching, you retain 92% watching versus reading. 92% of people will share videos with other people versus sharing something that's been written. Senior executives agree that video, they'd rather watch video than kind of read a company newsletter. These statistics are only getting more severe, so 6 out of 10 people prefer watching online videos to live TV. Very different than, again, when Xers and Boomers grew up. And this is another startling statistic. People under 32 will not pay for cable. YouTube, going crazy on a daily basis, right? This is more YouTube statistics. YouTube has massive, massive reach. And now you can get in almost every language, 88 countries. So video's nuts. Now, if you look at what millennials do, right, as I said to you guys before, millennials are going to Google and YouTube, Facebook, and social media networks first. And they're doing it on this. So mobile is dominating, absolutely dominating how people are searching for products or searching for information. Another startling statistic. This is an exclusive number. So 48% of millennials will only watch video on their phone. That's only going to increase as bandwidth is increasing. The statistic I just mentioned, 60% of millennials would rather watch a video than see a company newsletter. 80% of millennials feel watching a video helps them decide on how they purchase product. Demos useful, brands, again, YouTube, Twitter, the statistics that I mentioned, the numbers are startling. And at the end of the day, what's the takeaway and what does it relate to if you're building out product? Is that the buying behavior is very, very different, right? But most boomers and Xers are running most companies, right? So if you think over 45 years old, all the companies are still being run by people that have very different buying behavior than their audience. It's a big problem. Visual content is everything, right? Instagram's a great example of that, Snapchat, Facebook. Texting's clearly a big deal, and watching videos. So as we kind of went through, the statistics are somewhat mind-numbing as it relates to videos. And more millennials are feeling this concept of in real life, right? That in real life interactions are more happening digitally 75% of the time than the actual physical interaction. I asked my kids this question, and I asked my kids and I asked people in our office, and this was the reaction. If I had to take your smartphone away forever, right? What would you do? And this is what people said. You mean just the social media part? I said, no, the entire phone forever. They're like, they couldn't even process it. My son said $100 million, right? I mean, look, 43% said $5 million to permanently lose your smartphone. I mean, these are crazy statistics, right, of how important it is to have a mobile initiative for your company. And then 75% say they'd rather keep their messaging app versus their phone app. Voice calls are the place of last resort for people to call, right, versus going online and getting social reaction. And then 70% really believe that there's a future where all purchases will happen online and not even in a store. So the takeaway is that millennials prefer video over reading, texting over talking, and mobile over desktop. And it's the opposite for the baby boomer generation. And so there's this massive content gap. And what I just tried to show you guys is when you have this massive content gap, how do you adapt if you're 45 years or older and you still are going to work for another 20 to 25 years? The behaviors are the opposite, as we've proven, and content at the end of the day is king, especially video content on your phone. And millennials do react to content marketing. That's a really important fact, but they don't react to old school advertising. And what you want to be able to do is create content so they can share and you can like, and eventually turns into buying. Now, this is something that I put on, right, is that if you don't create content, right, there's no engagement. And with no engagement, there's no sharing, there's no liking, there's no data analytics. And a lot of people, you guys have probably heard this, data is the new oil, right? Data analytics at the end of the day, Facebook just got in a lot of trouble 6 weeks ago for how they're collecting information on people. But without creating data, right, you have no engagement, then you can't get the user analytics, then you can't grow and you can't evolve. And so millennials want brands to entertain them. They want to be content creators, so they want to be involved with your content. And this, to me, is probably the most startling statistic if you're really comparing how Xers and baby boomers think, right? They, at the bottom, okay, is thought leadership, company news, industry news. The top two are training demos and product news. Think about that. They really only care to learn about your product, be trained on it, and view a demo versus what your company is doing, or even thought leadership. Thought leadership's 5%. That surprises a lot of people. Again, content is king, is the key takeaway. You have to think outside the box if you're a millennial and a baby boomer today, especially if you're an educational institution. How are you appealing to these new millennial parents to engage them in your school? And thanks so much. Hopefully this was helpful, a brief introduction to how millennials buy, consequently how we have to sell to them, especially if you're an Xer and a baby boomer. Any questions? All right. Well, thanks for listening.